Nevertheless, I have a few things against you, because you allow that woman Jezebel, who calls herself prophetess, to teach and seduce my servants, to commit sexual immorality, and to eat things sacrificed to idols. And I gave her time to repent of her sexual immorality, and she did not repent. Indeed, I will cast her into a sickbed, and those who commit adultery with her into a great tribulation, unless they repent of their deeds. And I will kill her children with death, and all the churches shall know that I am he who searches minds and hearts. And I will give each one of you according to your works. Jesus then continues, but hold fast what you have till I come. And he who overcomes and keeps my works until the end, to him I will give power over the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and they shall be dashed to pieces like a potter's vessel. Now I know what you're thinking. Jesus seems to have lost his cool a little here. For starters, he is threatening the children of a woman with death for her crime. Well, what he perceives as her crimes. Now, it's really fairly difficult to reconcile killing children for the crimes of the parents. I mean, there's also this thing that he will know it is I who searches minds and hearts. I mean, this is going right into the Christopher Hitchens sort of celestial dictator, that the thought, Jesus is fully doing the thought police thing here. You can't escape him even in your thoughts. But I know what you're thinking. At this point in the narrative, this is in the revelation of Jesus Christ, at this point in the narrative, Jesus has been crucified with mankind, so he might be bearing a bit of a grudge at this point. However, let's go back to before when he was crucified. This is in the Gospel of Luke. And let's see if Jesus was any better when he was alive. So Jesus has just finished giving some parable, and he finishes like this. For I say to you, to everyone who has will be given, and from him who does not have, even what he has shall be taken from him. But bring here those enemies of mine who do not want me to reign over them, and slay them before me. So this is basically advocating genocide as a way of promoting the faith. Well, I'm sure that's a very effective policy. I don't think that it's one that I would pursue, but then again, I'm not the Jesus Christ, that's Christ as in Christian. But anyway, so after Jesus has basically commanded that everyone who disagrees with him should be brought before him and killed, he then goes on, go into the village opposite you. When you enter, you will find a colt tied on which no one has ever sat. Loose it and bring it here. And if anyone asks you, why are you loosing it? You shall thus say to him, because the Lord has need of it. So basically, Jesus is saying here that he wants his disciples to go and steal a horse for him. Now, there are a few things that really strike you about this passage. The first, actually, ironically, comes from, I think it's Star Trek V, where Kirk goes to the centre of the galaxy where he finds God, and God says, I want your spaceship. And Kirk rather bemusedly and poignantly replies, what does God need with a starship? And I can't but help feel the same question is valid here. What does God need with a horse? Anyway, ignoring that, there is also this thing that if God is omnipotent, and Jesus is omnipotent, why is he asking questions here? If he knows that someone is going to say, why are you stealing my horse? Then he can say, well, when someone says, why are you stealing my horse? You say to them, because the Lord needs it. Right? But that's not what he says. He says, if someone asks you, why are you stealing my horse? Then you tell them the Lord needs it. And of course, if he knows no one's going to say anything, then he doesn't have to say anything. So that's kind of peculiar. If he's going to sort of say, well, everything belongs to God, therefore nothing that I take is theft. I mean, this is getting down the Hovind line of argument that Everything belongs to God. Therefore, I don't have to pay taxes on it. Well, I don't find that particularly convincing. Neither did a court of law. And further, if everything belongs to God, then either everything is theft or nothing is theft, and there's no real such thing as property. Either way, Jesus is basically telling his acolytes to go and steal for him by any definition here. So if Jesus Christ, that's Christ as in Christian, coming up here and saying, bring my enemies before me and kill them, and then he goes off and tells them to steal a horse on his behalf. So my question to Christians is, if Jesus came up to you and told you, like he does in the Gospels, to kill those who don't want Jesus to reign over him, would you do it? And likewise, if Jesus told you to steal something for him, would you do it? And similarly, if someone actually came up to you and said, well, Jesus told me to kill them, or someone comes up and says, well, I only stole it because Jesus told me to do it, how would you actually tell whether Jesus had legitimately instructed them to do it, or whether they were just being a little crazy?